As you know, I was a British ambassador in Uzbekistan, which is immediately north of there. I've been to Afghanistan, I've been there on British government business. I know why we're in Afghanistan, and we're in Afghanistan to protect a possible American oil pipeline route out of Central Asia for oil and gas from there. I've met the people who are doing the pipeline. The pipeline was envisioned by a company called UNICAL. The person working on it, who was heading that project, was a consultant for UNICAL, worked on it for 5 years. His name was Karzai. He's now president of Afghanistan. One of the directors and owners of UNICAL is George Bush Sr. Interestingly, in 1999 and 2000, Taliban delegations were flown to Houston by UNICAL in order to discuss the Taliban protecting the pipeline. In the end, the Americans decided to go another way. And the government which we are maintaining in power in Afghanistan, I know some of them personally. I met General Dostum, for example, who's the Deputy Minister of Defence and head of the Afghan Armed Forces, a man who has tied dissidents to tank tracks and run over them, and who, in one incident, locked 120 people into a steel container and left it in the heat of the sun for them all to die of dehydration, which they did. Some of them he shot first. And General Dostum is one of the many members of the Afghan government who is not only a warlord, but is a major heroin smuggler. Of the 5 largest heroin smugglers in the world, or heroin producers and smugglers, 3 of them are ministers in the Karzai government. So the idea that we are there promoting democracy, that we are there promoting a better life for the Afghan people is simply untrue. The strange puppet government of Karzai, whose brother is one of the biggest drug smugglers in the world, and Karzai is a part of that family business, it's a nonsense and a disgrace. And the people of Britain have not been told the truth about why our troops are dying in Afghanistan. Personally, I'm happy if there are more helicopters in Hampshire than Helmand, because at least in Hampshire they're not killing anybody. Thank you.
We're in a situation now where a lot of soldiers' lives are being lost, and we want to, and also a lot of Afghan people have been killed over since this invasion began in 2001. And I really regret any loss of life, and I think this is something that we want to avoid. The difficulty that I've got though is when this first started, when this invasion began, the reason why the coalition, and Britain was only one small part of that coalition way back then in 2001, was that the situation that the Taliban had created was such, was that so much of the planning for 9/11 and for other subsequent terrorist attacks were going on in the valleys in Afghanistan, and a democratic government in any part of the world needed to find some way of interrupting that. So democratic governments together tried to go in there and to stop that. And I want to make sure that we don't find ourselves in a position where people can plan terrorist attacks. Now, this is only 50% or even less of how we fight this battle. We've got to win the hearts and minds as well. There are so many other things we have to do. But I can't see how, if we simply withdraw, that we won't leave a situation, a cesspit, where terrorism continues to grow. And some of it has started because of the actions of Western powers themselves. That's absolutely true. But if we leave a cesspit where terrorism continues to grow, we are putting lives at risk. So this is a terribly difficult situation, one that I personally don't completely know the answer to. I mean, Craig's got an awful lot of information from his experience, a lot more than I've got. And I want to find out as much information as possible. One of the things that I have always found is this lack of transparency frustrates me so much with these big decisions, particularly with Iraq, which I was against because we just weren't seeing the information there, and that was obvious. But I would like to see more information, particularly with this situation in Afghanistan. People are right about there not being a clear mission statement, and that's something that we need to sort out as well. But I wouldn't be in favour of withdrawing the troops now, because I don't want to withdraw and leave that situation where we left a government that was absolutely regressive anyway, particularly towards women, but where people started making these plans to commit terrorist attacks. That's something that we went in there to stop, and we need to finish the job there.